All right, in this video, we are going to go unexpectedly live, do a live stream, and take a look at this WNBA trade, Aces, Sparks, and Storm. As I cannot, the WNBA, the teams that do dumb things continue to do dumb things. It always amazes me. So, and this is no change. So if you haven't heard the three-team trade, and nobody's in this live stream yet, it's probably too late in the States. I don't know if anybody will watch it. Somebody just logged on. In the trade, the Aces, they get Jewel Lloyd and the number 13 pick in 2025. Now, can you hear me? Who's in the chat? Can you hear me? Just making sure my sound's all right. Make sure it's not muted. So they get that's what the Aces get Jewel Lloyd, the number 13 pick in 2025. The Sparks get the number 9 pick this year. So essentially they're swapping out and giving up the number 2 pick, and they get the number 26 in 2026. They get the second round pick from Seattle. And then the other thing as well, they will obviously get Kelsey Plum. So, and then the Storm, they get the number 2 pick from LA. That's the best deal they could get. And for 2026, they get the first round pick from the Aces. Now, for me, now I've read Pelton's site, Kevin Pelton's site. He has winners and losers. Okay, thanks, Jim, for letting me know you can hear us. Pelton he rated the grades as follows. So he gave the Aces a B plus. He gave the Sparks a B minus. And what did he give the Storm? He gave the Storm an A minus. Now, I guess if you're a public publication, you have to be a little bit nicer to these guys than I will. For me, I give the Aces a C. I give the Sparks a D, and I give the Storm D and A. And I'll go through that in a second. But for the Aces, for me, the Aces, it's doesn't really replace their problem. I mean, Jewel Lloyd's fine. I think Jewel Lloyd will bounce back being with the Aces because she's will be expected to do less. I think she'll fit in with that with less usage, and she won't be exposed as much. I trust Hammond to put her in better spots and have a good bounce back. Is she much better than Kelsey Plum? Maybe I can see her and Chelsea Gray working better together. That's fine if Chelsea Gray stays healthy. But for me, with the Aces, the big hole they had last year was their power forward. That was the problem. They didn't have anybody a sidekick for Asia Wilson, and the other thing is they didn't have any depth, and that was always a concern with them. And that's why I think, yeah, I don't think it really improves them. The question with them will who will they get to sign via the cap? Yeah, will they play their little games in the cap and get somebody that's highly valued to take a discount rate the way they do before? Now, I don't know if people say they're cheating or not. I don't care, but they always wind up getting people to sign at lesser value. Now, with the Sparks, I have the Sparks. Now, I've given them a D, and here's the reason. What are you doing? Kelsey Plum is a good player. You got her to go there, but is that really that makes you potentially a playoff team? And is that the goal for the next year is to be the playoffs? Great. Then obviously I assume they've gotten word from her that she'll re-sign with them potentially. But that's too much. The Sparks are rebuilding. Even if Kelsey Plum, what is her window to be good? I mean, she's almost in her prime right now. The Sparks are really about 2 or 3 years away, in my opinion. And they've once again, because they've given away their pick in 26 for the Rakia Jackson trade, they've like, oh, we can't be bad in 26, therefore we'll do this and sell out to try to make sure we're not in the lottery again, because that would be too embarrassing. And that's what I think they're basically doing here. Kelsey Plum as well, it's a bit of a risk. How will she be without having Chelsea Gray and Asia Wilson and Jackie Young taking pressure off of her? Is she that type of player where she can be a number one on the team? And that's my big concern with the Sparks and getting her. I don't know if she's an elite guard, and I don't see them making the playoffs. And once again, I don't understand their move. If the move was like we just want to squeeze into the playoffs, then I would have kept Kurt Miller, an experienced WNBA coach, versus going with a rookie WNBA coach, Lynn Roberts, and then they're sort of going half rebuild. It just makes no sense to me. And it's obvious that Magic Johnson is back in trying to make calls, in my opinion. I mean, I always kill LA. Now, for the Storm, the reason I give them a DNA, it depends on what they're able to do with the two pick. And you know where this is going. Are they going to be able to get Paige Beckers? But even if they get Paige Beckers, the question would be, what are they going to do with Diggin Smith, and how can they move Diggin Smith along? Can't really move Diggin Smith along because she's not really. I think her stock is quite low. She hasn't been able to go to any place without turmoil in the background, whether you like Diggin Smith or not. There's always turmoil wherever she is. So even if Paige Becker's pulled on Dallas, hey, I'm not going there, and Dallas caved in and they went, okay, we'll draft Olivia Miles, and I don't know if Rusty's on this chat. Maybe they'll draft Olivia Miles straight up, which I doubt, but that's for you, Rusty. But even if they draft, Dallas takes Olivia Miles, or if they take Kiki Arieffin, then if you have Beckers, how are you going to have her play with Diggin Smith? And you might say, well, she's adaptable and play off guard, but she's not really an off guard. In the WNBA, she is going to be a point guard. So I just see it really messy, but I think they did the best they could in terms of getting value for Jewel Lloyd, who obviously didn't want to be there. The question is, what do they do with the two pick? Now, I think it was speculated in the Kevin Pelton article that makes sense to me. If you could swap that pick and get Ariel Atkins, that makes sense to me because there's really nobody they can draft because Seattle wants to win now. Like their window is getting really small with Agumake and, well, not Lloyd anymore, but with Diggin Smith. And taking Kiki Arieffin doesn't really fit because of who do they have on their team already? They've got Magdebor. So if you have those three, I just don't see the draft helping them. If they could pull off a swap with Washington and get Ariel Atkins, then I think the trade works out quite. That would be a good deal, as you've replaced one shooting guard for another shooting guard who's potentially fits into their system better. So to be determined, that's why I'm giving them a D and A, to be determined what they do with that draft pick. If they're able to swap it for somebody better, then I think great. If they're able to swap it, or if they're able to land Paige Beckers, then great. I mean, it won't be a great fit for next year, but you can tell the tie-in stories will have. Hey, we had Sue Bird here, another UConn legend taking over, and here we go into the future to be determined. But that's my initial take on this trade, is that I don't think anybody really won. And I think the only thing that's happened is the LA Sparks have gotten worse. Now, what do you think? Do you think I've gotten too harsh on the LA Sparks? I know Sparks fans always thinks I'm killing them. I know Dallas fans think I'm always killing them as well, and they're probably irritated that I'm speculating that Beckers won't go to Dallas. But in my opinion, I just don't think anybody really did fantastically great in this trade. I don't think it was like the Chicago trade where you were like, "Oh my God, Chicago um, just really screwed up bringing in Marina Mabrey." I don't think it's catastrophic for any team, and how in that Marina Mabrey trade, how the New York Liberty gave the swap rights up. I'm not seeing anything catastrophic. What I'm seeing is at this stage is that basically this might be terrible long term for the LA Sparks. And I think Seattle did as best they could, and the Aces did the best they could if they can't get Kelsey Plum to come back to the Aces. So that was my take. I just want to get that off my chest. Really, right now, I just found out the trade dropped. So I've been doing a video on UConn today, just taking a look about how they're. It'll be like a relook about how they're building over through the Big East and looking at that Creighton game, as I thought that was really interesting how they did that, or how they looked versus Creighton, because Sarah Strong. I'll give you a preview of that video. It's going to have a lot of Sarah Strong and how good she is, because she is fantastic, and just they throw to her in the high post and she just dominates. So I thought I'd just come on real quick, talk about the WNBA, and answer any questions or have any chats. Does anybody have any thoughts on the trade? Do y'all think it's a good trade, or who do you think won the trade? I guess. Does anybody feel? It is really hot in Australia, by the way. I'll let you know right now. It's about 95 here. But Jim, you can hear me? All right. So, yeah, what do you think? Who do you think won this trade here? Do you think it was the LA like me, or do you think they're the big loser? And like me, do you think probably the Storm and Vegas, they did about as well as they could? I feel bad for Paige. Her best landing spot is gone. This is a mess. Best option for her now is DC. Question, it can happen. Yeah, me too. I mean, the only way I could see it happen is if they if Washington swaps early with with the Sparks, and then they make a play for it. That's the only way. If somehow if I was Seattle, if let me ask you this: if you were Seattle and you had a swap deal right now before we know anything, a swap deal for Beckers, swapping her for Errol Atkins, would you do that if you were the Storm? I would do that because I think their window is right now. I think they need to win right now. And if they could do that, then that is the potential salvation for Paige Beckers is going to DC, like you say. I don't know if anybody else thinks you would do that, but yeah, I would definitely swap out Beckers for or Ariel Atkins for the number two pick. I think that's definitely worthwhile. 'Cause I just don't see how the Storm are going to get value out of any value out of the number two pick, even if it's Kiki Arieffin. I mean, Kiki Arieffin isn't going to be a dominant player straight away. They're looking to go for a title. What is this? Sarah's the best player in college. Don't care about trade. Paige can threaten to stay at UConn and not go to Dallas. Yeah, if you're a UConn fan, that's what you want. You want. Can you imagine all the noise if Paige returns to college next year? Could you imagine all the noise? Oh my God, how old she is and everything else. But if you're a UConn fan, you're like, I don't care. Whatever, stay here and earn your NIL. Why not? I totally get that. Uh, I think in terms of all Americans this year for college. I was thinking about this. I would have um, early first team All American. Let's see this. I think Paige does well in Dallas. I think people think Ariki's some kind of Jamal Crawford to shots refused type of player, and she'll be fine scaling down her offense with Paige. The problem I just did not like Greg Bibb. All right, and I do like Miller. I think Kurt Billers does make better basketball decisions than Greg Bibb will. But looking at that, Ariki's not a good defensive player, and I just don't see teaming up Ariki with Paige Beckers. Your backcourt is not going to be a good defensive backcourt. It's just that simple. And then when you add that you got McCowan at center and they just get them in pick and roll, Dallas is still going to be a mess on defense. That's one of the things with Dallas is they're always a mess on defense, in my opinion. Gary, is Kelsey Plum better than many of you think? That's the question. Like she shoots really well, and I and we will see this year. That will be the true telling point because in my opinion, I think Young and both Plum benefit from all the attention that Asia Wilson and Kelsey Chelsea Gray give them, and that's my opinion. But we will find out. We will find out for sure. Yeah, the Tennessee South Carolina Gamecocks on Monday. Looking forward to that. I think Carolina is going to crush them, but you never know at Tennessee if they shoot well from three. It's the great equalizer. That great equalizer on them. I would say going back to All American. I don't mean to be going all over the place right here, but first team All American. I would have Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo in my backcourt. I would cheat and have Juju Watkins at my forward. I would have Sarah Strong at my four. And then who would be my center? That's my question. I can't think of a center right now. 'Cause I don't know. I'd have to look at the numbers for Kiki Arieffin. And because Lee's gone out, I don't know. Oh, Betts, thank you. Oh my God, yes. Who would be my center? The most dominant player in women's college basketball. Yeah, that would be my first team All Americans, and yeah, that would. definitely anger UConn fans that I would put Paige second team. But when I look at it, Notre Dame beat UConn when they went head to head, and I think that backcourt's the best backcourt in college basketball. And yeah, I think they've played better this season, Miles and Hidalgo, than Paige Beckers. I don't know if people disagree with that. I know a lot of the people that watch my channel are UConn fans, and it's probably bad for me to say, but yeah, that's just what I think. But I think on my top 5, I'm having Sarah Strong on my team just because she does everything so well and so efficient. Yeah, I would have Sarah Strong over Morrow. Yeah, I would. And LSU fan will come at me. Nah, give me Sarah Strong. At least in the team I want, because I want my 4 that can shoot from the 3 point. And Sarah Strong is just ridiculously good. So that's why I'm doing that. Paige is suffering from success this week's Big East, meaning she keeps sitting down. Yeah, well, in the game versus Creighton, she played that game because that was the one competitive game they'll have in the Big East, and she didn't do anything in the first quarter, in the first half, basically. I think she had 4. What'd she have in the first half? Like 4 points, and then she played the rest of the game. Like, she got minutes in that game, but man, in the second half of that Creighton game, man, the pick and roll with Beckers and Strong was beautiful. Like, they did some beautiful things. Like, there was one where Gino ran a what did they have? They went to Strong. Strong does a dribble handoff to Fudd and then goes and picks Becker's man. Beckers gets it on the curl, and then Beckers takes the jump shot over 2 where Strong is free, and you're like, "That's fine, Paige. Be as selfish as you want. We want you to be selfish." And then, like, a few plays later, straight away, Beckers dumps it to Strong for the layup, and just everything runs off that. Let's see, Gary. My heart is breaking for Page. Dallas has an awful roster. McCowan and Kalani Brown both have lead feet and can't shoot. Yeah, that was the one thing. I know it was Greg Bibb, but I never understood why why they went with signing Kalani Brown when you have McCowan. Just made no sense. And once again, I keep on busting them in my videos, but how they didn't draft Aaliyah Edwards to get them a mobile 4 just makes no sense whatever to me. Ironically, Sablé is like the perfect. Yeah, Sablé would be perfect for them, but you knew she was going to leave. And the other one you knew that was going to be leaving was who was the other one? Natasha Howard. You knew Natasha Howard was going to leave as well. We'll see how Strong holds up against South Carolina. Yeah, we will see how she holds up against South Carolina. That's the one I want to see. Um, and I'm going to do videos on this because nobody's going to watch this stream. But with South Carolina, UConn, my question is, can UConn play small versus South Carolina? And I think they might be able to get. I think you can put Strong at the 5, and I want to see if she holds up against Fagan. If not, if they'll go El Alfie to start off with, and I'm fine with El Alfie on Fagan, and I'm loving Sarah Strong on Chloe Kitts. Chloe Kitts, I did it in my video. I thought I'd take some static for it, but she's like that horse learning how to walk or a baby deer learning how to walk. She's always falling over. She's always losing the ball. She doesn't get it and have a firm base. And you're like, oh my God, we can't knock her off. She's always loose with it. And I just think I could see a few times when she's on Kits that she might be able to poke the ball away. Now, the question is, will Kits's length give Sarah Strong trouble? That will be the interesting thing to see if Strong struggles with that. And it's going to be a great matchup to watch. Let's see, what do we have? Wait a second. Could Seattle trade second pick for Satu with a handshake agreement to re-sign? They could. They could organize some sort of deal, but Seattle was good in the front court. Seattle had Megnabor, the Australian. Like she's long, much like Sablé. Sablé's better, but and that hurt them versus the Aces because I think Magnabor was out with a concussion or something like that. But I don't know if it's a real advantage getting Satu. They really need to get a guard to go along that can shoot from outside because Diggin Smith lost her shot. You think Morrow held up well against South Carolina? I don't think so. I think she got exposed a little bit, like because I think that game showed and I was probably too harsh on her. Like, she's great for her size, being able to rebound and everything else. So I was probably overly harsh, but I thought at the end of the third quarter, the problems that she will have on the WNBA were demonstrated. They threw it to her in a pick and pop. She was open. She didn't take the shot. She drove into two and got her shot blocked. Then on the next time down, did a pick and pop again. They threw it to her and she missed the three pointer. And that's the thing. If she's going to play in the WNBA, I mean, she'll play, she'll get a roster spot. But if she's going to do something, she has to improve that shot. And it's not there right now. Let's see. Sarah's so strong that Gino can't play El Alfie. Well, Jim, here's my question for you. I was looking at this, and again, this is a preview before my video, so maybe you don't want to watch my video if I get a chance to edit it. But I'm looking at UConn right now, and Sarah Strong and Paige, they're your two, and Fudd. But I'm just KK and Caitlin Chin just are not shooting, and I like the pressure they put on the ball, but Chin is still around 26%. She had a game 2 games ago against Villanova. She was able to have a game where I think she went like 7 for 8 or something like that. But other than that, she hasn't shot well. And if you take a look, Ashlyn Shade is quietly having a great shooting year. Like, she's over 40% from the three-point line. And I'm wondering, in a lineup they haven't used at all, I would love for him to pull KK and Chin, and I would like them to go. I'd like to have Beckers, Shade Beckers, and Fudd and Sarah Strong and El Alfie. And then if that one's and as well, the other lineup I want to see that they haven't done so far is I would love to see them swapping out El Alfie, putting Strong there, but as well putting Chelly at the power forward spot with those three. And just I don't know if it would work or not, but I'd love to see it because Chelly and Shade are shooting quite well from the corners, and that's what you need. You need a bunch of shooters because every time they ran pick and roll, there was always a look off the ball. Like, Strong could throw it across the court or Beckers, and there was going to be an open 3-point look, and Chin just couldn't hit him. Like, she was 0 for 6 versus Creighton. So I don't know. You might think I'm crazy on that one. Let me get back to the questions. Morrow, when I talked about Morrow, Sarah Strong, Gino can't play Alfie. Jewel Lloyd wants another ring. Seattle won't do that. Yeah, but again, I say with the Aces, they need more depth. That was their problem last year. Alicia Gray is only getting older, and will they have enough depth because she has a big contract? What is it? What is this? The big has fouled all year because of their help defense. Kids will be okay. Well, we'll see. Yeah, I want to see it. I want to see that game. I think if anybody has the ability to beat South Carolina, I think it is UConn because if they put shooters out there and if they play defense, I think that could be an interesting game. Let's see. Hello, Alicia Clark, Las Vegas. Tomorrow will be straight trust. Okay, yeah, we'll see. Time will determine. I mean, Clark is fine, but it wasn't good enough last year. And do you see Lloyd being that much of an upgrade over Kelsey Plum? Like, do you see that difference between them? And I just think they were a big player away from really contending, from being able to get over the top, especially when New York has Phoebish. They had no answer for that because Phoebish was quite long and a big problem for them. And um, Seattle as well could give them problems as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I really want to see it. Not Seattle. Who was the other team? Sorry, Minnesota. Minnesota with their long ones because I just don't see if when they're playing Minnesota, you can put one. You have to choose your poison. Who are you going to put Asia on? Okay, we'll put her on Fee, and then you have to worry about Alana Smith, and that's a bad matchup for Clark. Let's see, kind of it's kind of out of left field, but what do you think about Clara Stack, Kentucky center? She has a good combo of passing, defense, rebounding for her scoring. Yeah, Kentucky's interesting, but she in 27, yeah, just see how she develops. I like the way that uh, Kenny Brooks develops his talent. I'm a big fan of Kenny Brooks. I think he does all the right things, um, and I think it's too early to know about Stack. I think of I'll tell you this: I like Stack more than I like God, who's the center for LSU? The big one that I thought was going to be good, but she just does not have the foot speed. Like Mulkey tried to play her again today, and it's just not there. Del Rosario, yeah, it's just not happening with Del Rosario. And I like Stack better than El Alfie right now. So I don't know if El Alfie's going to come along, but El Alfie doesn't finish at the basket. It's been a problem for El Alfie all year. And then of course, Lauren Betts is obviously the center you want to be. Yes. Yeah. I think the story will be um, the 3-point line. Does Tennessee go off the 3-point line, and how much do they give up? And this one could be a good matchup for Tennessee um, because Tennessee, one of their big problems is they're getting killed on the boards. They give up too many offensive rebounds, and this is the first year where South Carolina is just not that dominant on the offensive boards. They're still good. People are going to say, "How dare you say that about South Carolina?" I'm not saying they're good. I'm just saying that they're not as good as when they had Cardoso and obviously Ash Watkins pounding the boards, or when they had Cardoso and Boston pounding the boards. This is the year they're vulnerable because they have to play the right way. They have to take good shots. They can't be dumb and get away with it, and that'll be the question. And then if they don't shoot well, then they are vulnerable, in my opinion. Let's see. Um, UConn needs Griffin to succeed against South Carolina. I sort of thought that as well, but I'm not so sure. Watching the way UConn switches, if you watch the Creighton game, you should watch the Creighton game again. The way their three guards work, and they're switching everything on defense, and they do it well. Like they really talk and switch everything. That really helps out on the pick and roll. I rewatched a little bit of UConn, South Carolina from last year, and I mean, that was over before it started because you had Paige Beckers on Ash Watkins at times. My question is, I want to see if Paige Beckers can get points off of Bree Hall. Bree Hall did a nice job on Beckers. Beckers was crafty and still got her points. The other one I've bashed a bit, not Ashlyn Watkins, Ashlyn Shade. She actually played fairly well against South Carolina, better than Nika Mule. She was terrible in that game. It was unbelievable how bad she was. Do you think Vanderbilt will finally be ranked this week? Yeah, they should be. Yeah, they should be. They can score. They do the right things, and they got the games they needed. So that was a big win over Tennessee. And then I haven't looked at it today, but they beat Alabama, so I haven't seen the game film or anything like that. But yeah, Vanderbilt is putting together a resume, and they can score. And they gave LSU a game as well, so they should be in the top 20 in my opinion. Like they were always, how they kept Iowa in the top 20, and for the whole time, Vandy should have been there instead of Iowa. Like Iowa never did anything to me that said, "Oh my God, boy, they really play good defense or they score really well." No. Do you think the Connecticut Sun decide? I don't think so. How can the Sun rebuild? Two things with the Sun: they really don't have the option to rebuild because they don't have their pick next year because Chicago holds their pick. So that kills that off right there. And then the other one, I know that Thomas is uh, talking about leaving, but that could core her. But I don't see where could she go there where she'd have the gig that she has with the Sun. Like they might not like the facilities and everything else, but where else can she go where the offense revolves around her? And the way they tailor that offense with her not being able to shoot, it's perfect. And I can't see any other team giving her that deal. And if and it's the other thing of I believe she's married to Bonner, that allows her to stay with her wife, that they'll re-sign her to keep her happy. I don't see anything happening there, and yeah, I know Chicago's really excited about having that pick because I think that the Sun will be a tire fire, but I don't think so. I think they'll be fine. I do. I think I basically and they're in hell in a lot of ways because they're in that mediocrity. They're not going to win the championship most likely, and but they're not bad enough to rebuild. And I think eventually they'll break it. They'll break it down, but I think it'll happen after the free agency agreement. And then long term, I know some people have talked about the viability of them staying there. I don't know about that. I know the her hoops guy is very pessimistic on them, but I'm not as pessimistic. I think they'll just be that playoff team that sort of bullies teams and does good enough to make the playoffs. Let's see, what do we got here? UConn will not beat South Carolina. They will not. They will not win. People talk about LSU. UConn has always had an easy. Of course they do. Of course UConn has an easy Big Ten, but they play everybody non-conference. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It depends on the game and how they play. The way you have to beat South Carolina is you have to shoot well, not get killed on the boards, play good defense, and hope that they shoot poorly. And there's a potential. I mean, um, if you look at the win streaks, UConn, I think of the six longest home win streaks, UConn has been involved in six of those. So they've had, over. I think they've had three win streaks at home that have gone over 60 games that have been broken. But the other one is they've broken the home win streaks. They broke, I think Stanford had one that they broke. I think South Carolina had one they broke as well. So they break win streaks as well. And that team can go in there. The way those matchups are, I'm not saying it'll happen. If they shoot 20% like they did last year, then you're right. They're not winning. But to say they categorically can't win, that's crazy. That is crazy. And if I was going to say, um, I think UConn has as good a chance to beat South Carolina as LSU did. And in some ways, LSU has that toughness where they won't get dominated on the boards. That's the one advantage they have over UConn. Same time, UConn has the depth where they can run. Now they can run variety of lineups and players and constant ball pressure. So yeah, I'm not, but I'm not putting the college fund on that. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it will be very interesting that game. Is there any teams you think could be a good fit for both cases? They did both leave. Um, is there any? Uh, Yeah, another team can't be Chicago because they've got Reese in Chicago. That won't work. Um, I can't see I can't see Atlanta because the Atlanta coach is a new college coach and he's analytic. Yeah, Bonner and Thomas. Yeah, I can't see Atlanta because of that. I don't see. I mean, the, Dallas could have if Dallas struggles to land Page and all that, but they're rebuilding. I don't know. I don't know if they could do. Yeah, I don't know about that one either. I can't think of one. You can't go to the Aces because, well, maybe, yeah, maybe that. Maybe she will be Thomas. You could say, hey, Thomas, you're gonna take the Vegas special deal of a low contract, and you're gonna get your championship, and you're gonna be the enforcer for Asia Wilson. Maybe that. I could see that potentially, and them getting Bonner on a discount deal, and them saying, "Yeah, we're taking low value, but we want to win a championship." Could you see that? That's the only one. Phoenix, I don't- he's that guy. The Phoenix coach is an analytical guy as well. Unless he decides to play her at the five, like, can you get away with playing Thomas at the five with her height? I don't know, maybe, but that'd be the only one. Who's the Phoenix coach? What's his name? I've forgotten his name. Um, yeah, that's the only one I would say. Maybe Phoenix, and yeah, maybe a discount special for the Aces. I could see that. That looks interesting to me. Who's willing to take discounts and not? Would you trade Carrington if you get a return similar to the Storm with Lloyd? So are you talking about trading Carrington to Chicago for the 3 pick? Yeah, I would do that. I would do that for sure. Well, it depends. It depends if like you say, the Sun are going to rebuild and they're throwing in the towel, then yeah, do that and start the rebuild. You're going to lose Thomas and Bonner, or because Thomas can use the whole thing. Hey, I'm going to get my shoulder repaired and really put them in a lurch, and not play. So she has hand in that. So if she really wants out of there, she can get out of there. But and if the rebuild was on, then yeah, I would do that trade with Chicago. And if Chicago trades for Carrington, I'll laugh because that's not smart. Hey, can you give me 2 minutes? I've just forgot my get my plug. I forgot to plug in my computer. Hold on. Of issues last year, South Carolina it killed LSU guards on Friday. That wasn't the issue for UConn. It wasn't the ball pressure. The issue for UConn was is that Paige was having to play the four. She was that was too much work for her. And the other thing was is Nika Mule. There were turnovers she had that just made no sense whatsoever. And the other one was that Tahina Pow had the game of her life. Like everything she threw up went in. So if you watch the first quarter, but then they warmed down as well because they had no depth. Let's see. Yes, and whatever. Let's see. What is this? UConn will have issue. Let's see. Yes, and whatever you end up getting for Thomas. Yeah. So it really depends. If they go the rebuild, then yeah, I would. Yeah, I would definitely do that deal for Chicago. But that deal with Chicago makes absolutely no sense to me. Does it make any sense to anybody else? And some people say I'm a Chicago hater, but I never understand what Chicago is doing. They always just I don't understand them. I really don't. Because um yeah, I don't get what they're trying to I don't understand. You might not like Kennedy Carter, and that's fine, but you lie through your teeth and say, "Oh, she's really come around, she's great," and then see if you can get some sort of restricted free agent trade. Or you give her a low ball offer. I know you have to offer her a certain amount, but it wasn't too much for them. And then if she doesn't play ball with Tyler Marsh, then you cut her. It's that simple. It never makes any sense to me. Uh, if Chicago's the biggest winner of the trade, if they end up getting Miles, depending on what Seattle does with the pick. Yep. If that slips to them, that's great because Miles has been fantastic. I'll give you that. So I bashed Miles early on before the season started, but man, she has rebuilt her shot. Her shot is unbelievable right now. So good on her. So I'm with you 100% on that for sure. All right. Now I'm gonna go for 60 minutes. So I'll go for like another 23 minutes. But yeah, spit out your questions. Anything, college, pro, whatever you want. I'm happy to talk about. All right. But yeah, I never, I don't get what Chicago's doing. Just because you bring in Tyler Marsh, who had success with Jackie Young, does not mean that he's going to fix Angel Reese's shot. Angel Reese's shot might come around and she might be a fantastic player. Somebody's going to tell me how she played guard in high school, great, but I just don't see it. She didn't shoot well in college, didn't shoot well her first year. If she can find an outside shot, then she's a superstar. But if she can't, then she's an above average four and she's not that great because she can't stretch the floor. So I don't see how you play her with Cardoso. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But I've bung on and on about that. The other thing regarding Clara Stack, and I guess my question is with Stack and these other bigs is I in the WNBA now, if you can't shoot from outside, you're a dinosaur. Like you might be able to get on for 5 minutes, but they'll run you off the court. That even Betts to a certain degree. I think Betts is unbelievably athletic the way she runs the court. I think the way she moves is fantastic. But to be able to stay on the court, they're just going to run you off. That's the new WNBA. It just kills the big men, and that's what's going to happen in the WNBA, in my opinion. Is that the super bigs like the Brittany Griner, who was dominant years ago, it's just so much harder for them because of the 3-point shooters. They get a switch on you, and they just make it really, really hard. Are you are you saying Miles is a better point guard than Raven Johnson? Yeah, that's not for WNBA. I mean, Raven's fine, but Raven, if you can't shoot in the WNBA, you can't be a point guard. It's that simple. And it's not because I don't like Raven Johnson. It's that you need space. They're so athletic helping off the ball that there has to be a punishment that if I leave Raven Johnson to double on the post, I know that if they pop it back out to Raven, we're going to be punished. And that's the question with Raven Johnson. She cannot punish teams. They're happy to let her shoot as she doesn't shoot over 30% from three in college. So that's the problem with Raven Johnson. And it's not because I dislike her or anything like that. It's I like space, and people think I'm being harsh on that. And that was what my problem was with Olivia Miles. The previous 2 years, she shot under 30% from three. And if you throw it into the post and the ball comes back to you, it allows other people to double off you. And that's the same thing with Angel Reese as well. If you don't if you can't make your outside shot, then you're not drawing people to you, and they can double other players. It's just that simple. You have to be able to have a good shot to be in the WNBA, and if you have a bad shot, fine, then that means that you can go in for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, play defense, not get exposed on defense, and play for short burst, and that's what it would be. But yeah, I that's why Raven is not a first round draft pick, in my opinion. And Don can say, yeah, she's a WNBA player. She has a WNBA body. She has the quickness and everything else, but she's not a high draft pick because she cannot space the floor. Uh, Let's see. Yes, Angel Reese is doing poorly in Unrivaled. I haven't watched any Unrivaled. I don't know. Something about 3 on 3 it just never turns me on. I don't know if I'm in the minority here. I've just never been a big 3 on 3 fan. I hope it works, but yeah, even here with my kids, they were trying to turn that and say, "Hey, we're gonna do 3 on 3," and I was just like, "Okay." It's just not as interesting. You crazy. Raven won't make first draft. Where do you find these people? Raven won't. I don't think she'll be a first round draft pick. We'll see. But I don't think she'll get many minutes, if any, in her first year in the WNBA. Who's the one with the LA Sparks? Do you like Raven Johnson more than you like the point guard drafted by the Sparks? Who was that? I can't remember her name. Who was it? Remind me. We saw how someone like Killian Hayes did in the NBA despite being a good defender and passer. Even if Raven is a better version of him, that's still a tough sell. Yeah, that's the problem. Miles is a three-point shooter. Like, she's shooting the three ball great this year. Like, she's like 45% or 40%. That's the thing. The only question with Miles is it consistent? Like, this is the first year she shot the three ball over 30%. That's the question. Is it a but and I said this early on, is it going to last? And so far it's lasted. So she has a hell of a shot. Um, Yeah, so she has fixed her shot. Full credit to her, and I was her biggest critic. I was the one saying, "Hey, Hannah Hidalgo and Miles, that is not going to work because they both need the ball in their hands, and Miles can't play off the ball, and she has stuck it in my face." It's very interesting. Yeah, yeah, she has done very, very well. Who was the point guard that went to the LA Sparks? What's her name? Does anybody know? Trivia question. Who can give it to me? She was drafted in the first round by the Sparks. Who was it? Played at South Carolina. Who was it? Who am I thinking of? I can't remember her name now. She can't get off the bench. Who was it? Not Ari McDonald. No, Ari McDonald was Arizona. God, who is it? Y'all should know this. Not Haley Jones. No, Zaya Cook. Zaya. Yeah, she can't get off the bench. Is Cook was Cook much better than? Do you think Raven Johnson's a lot better than Cook? That's my question to you. I think they're very similar. I don't know how tall Cook is, but can't Cook can't get playing time on the LA Sparks, and I think it's much the same way. Haley Jones as well. Haley Jones has a WNBA body, and she can't shoot, and therefore she's extremely limited as a WNBA player. Perfect example right there. If Haley Jones had a shot, she would be unbelievably great, but she doesn't, and that's a problem. Um, with that, it's just um, some players can get a shot and some players can't. I think it's that simple. Because who are the guards that Staley's put in the WNBA? She isn't the girl in Indiana? Isn't she a Staley product? So who is she? Who's the one in the WNBA? Who's the one on Indiana? Kelsey. Didn't Kelsey Mitchell go to South Carolina? Am I wrong on that or not? I thought Kelsey Mitchell went to South Carolina, and her shot is just fine in my opinion. Saxton, but Al- Alicia Gray was Alicia Gray Maryland? Where was Alicia Gray? I can't remember where Alicia Gray went to. Yeah, but yeah, I thought Kelsey Mitchell went to I thought Kelsey Mitchell was South Carolina. Did Kelsey Mitchell go to South Carolina? Sorry, I'm gonna type it real quick. Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell. What school? Let's see. She go to Princeton. Oh, no, you're right. She went to Ohio State. Okay, somebody told me in there. Said Ohio State, and I ignored it. I'm sorry. Okay, all right, you got me. You got me. All right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, thank you for the fourth time. Yes, kept on ignoring you. Alicia Gray went to South Carolina. Didn't Gray go to North Carolina? God, this turned into trivia night. I thought Gray went to North Carolina. Um, or did she go to Duke? Chelsea Gray. Oh, this is great internet. Chelsea Gray College. Yeah, she went to Duke. Chelsea Gray was at Duke. So there you go. Mine, I just Googled it. Said Kelsey Gray went to Duke, I think. That's what my Google machine told me. I don't know if I'm right or not. But yeah, so I don't I I think I will say this. I think of all the schools to go to, I think it's pretty clear UConn prepares you to best be a pro. I think UConn does a good job of preparing players to be pros. But that said, I think the other schools do a good job as well. I think Sarah Strong hit it out of the park to go to UConn as their system fits what she does perfectly. I think that was a great call by her dad, Danny Strong. I think he's a smart guy, and I think she was always going there from the very beginning. All right. Chelsea Gray went to Duke. Oh, Alicia Gray. That's who you're talking. Okay. All right. I'm with you now. Okay. All right. Yep. Chelsea Gray went to Duke. That's what I'm thinking. I'm getting my Grays mixed up. How good am I? Okay. I'm terrible. Um, any other questions before we wrap it up? Probably wrap it up in a few minutes. Any other questions, comments? Do you have how dangerous of a game? Let's see. I think Alicia Gray transferred from UC to South Carolina, but it might be wrong. Yeah, I can't remember. I just tuned in. Did you think it was worth it? My short answer is I think for aces and for the Aces and Storm, it's a they did the best they could. I don't think I think the Aces problem is they need more depth. I think the Storm needed to get rid of Lloyd, obviously, and they got the best they could. But a number two pick doesn't really help them for where they want to go. It's a question of what they do with their pick, and if they can get their pick, traded to Washington and get Atkins, then great, or something like that, then they've won. If they can potentially figure out a way to get Beckers to go there as well, then maybe they've won it. And it's replacing one generational star, and she's the new Sue Bird. I think the Lakers. I think the Sparks have lost. Because I don't know what they're doing. They're sort of doing like a half rebuild. It's like being half pregnant. You can't do that. I don't understand why. Yeah, the trades. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, absolutely. Sarah Strong, she needs to be in a place where she can have the ball and pass and make decisions and be around other players. South Carolina would not have been the fit for her. Really looking for it. The buildup's going to have her going against Edwards. I'm looking forward to watching that as well because they will be on each other. Because when Kitts goes out, it'll be Edwards in there, and I can see them matching up quite a lot. I assume they'll have to trade that 2 pick. And I don't believe the rumors until it happens. When it happens, I will talk. But the natural one, Pelton talked about in his article about the Storm trading it for Ariel Atkins, and I could see that making sense because Washington's on the rebuild, and that would be the best value for Atkins. My last post, I'm off to bed. Yeah, what time is it there? My last post, and I'm off to bed. Yeah, I don't know what time it is there, but you're up too late, especially if you're on the East Coast. Raven took a whole new lineup and undefeated season. Yeah, I'm not saying she's a great college point guard. She's good. She has the intangibles. I like Raven Johnson. I'm just saying that to be in the WNBA, you need a shot. You need an outside shot. And I don't hate Angel Reese. I I like players that rebound and play defense. That's what Angel Reese does. But if she does not develop a mid-range jumper and a three-point shot, she will be limited. And that's all I'm saying. It's not, I don't have anything personal. I'm not a hater. That's just what I think. If you're going to be successful in the WNBA, you need an outside shot. That is, I think that 100% of the time. And just like we talked about Haley Jones, she did not have an outside shot, and therefore she has been limited in the WNBA despite having a WNBA body. One thing I appreciate about Sarah Strong is a two-way player. Shoots badly, she can still affect, yeah, defensively, play make, and get rebounds. That's why. Um, Again, a preview for the video. I don't know. Did anybody watch the Creighton game? Has anybody watched it? If you have, there's one play that stuck out to me. Sarah Strong posted up the Creighton girl and basically put the Creighton girl on the ground. Like, she posted her up, and the Creighton girl went to the floor, and she was able to drop the ball in for an easy basket. And the norm is, I'm gonna do, yeah, or you're too small or something like that. Yeah, thanks for that, Vegas. Thanks for coming. You're too small. And it was amazing. It was, she reached out and gave the girl a hand and helped her up. And I don't have an issue with the other players taunting each other. I don't care. I really don't. But I just thought it was so different because you're so used to everybody flexing on everybody, and she was like, "Here you go. I'll give you a hand and help you back up." It was refreshing. She reminds me. This is who she reminds me of, and this is in my video. It's a preview. She reminds me of Earl Campbell from my youth. Earl Campbell would score a touchdown, and this is like we had, Billy White Shoes Johnson on our team. It was all about the touchdown jam. Earl Campbell would make it in the end zone. He'd just throw the ball to the ref and then go walk to the bench, slow and casual. And that was his nature, just nice and relaxed and never hurried. And she reminds me of the basketball version of Earl Campbell, except Earl Campbell couldn't catch the ball. And yeah, Sarah Strong can catch the ball and do anything she wants. Yeah, I like Sarah Strong. Yeah, yeah, you're gonna get a lot of, yeah. I'm a big Strong fan, and because you've come late, you haven't seen it. But I had my All American team. First team would be Hannah Hidalgo, Olivia Miles, um, Juju Watkins. I'd slip her at, say she's a power. I'd say she's small forward. Then I would have Sarah Strong, and then at the center bats. That's my first team All Americans. Paige Beckers, I'm sorry, your second team. Crush me, UConn fans, all you want. But yeah, that's what my team would be as well. LSU will crush me for leaving Morrow off. But yeah, I would take Sarah Strong on my team over Morrow any day of the week. Let's see. Frankly, if you look at Sarah Strong's advanced stats, yeah, she's across the board. She does everything. Yeah, yeah. And you can argue Paige over Olivia, but they went head to head and Paige won. I mean, Olivia won. Olivia and Miles won. So that's my thing right there. And I do go by head to head matchups. So impactful. Her, yeah, are crazy. 100%. And just the other thing I say in my video, y'all won't watch the video, but if Sarah Strong remakes her body much like Madison Booker did over the summer, then next year she is just going to be like, she's already great, but she will be unbelievably great next year if she remakes her body over the summer, much like Madison Booker did. It will be ridiculous how good a player she is. Ace has now got second round pick. Really, I don't worry about the second round. They're both good. We could argue all day, and I don't think anybody's wrong. I'm just saying, on my list, I've got Page second. You could do it the opposite, and I wouldn't yell at you either. you know, it's like arguing over, you know, 1A, 1B. But yeah, I hear where you're coming from. Let's see, you're five. Miles Watkins. What is it? Miles Watkins, Beckers, Morel, and Bet. You don't have Hannah Hidalgo on your five. You don't have Hannah Hidalgo on your five. Now, I'm not going to argue you about the one of Miles and 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 Paige Becker's, but all on in my first team, I've got Hannah Hidalgo on there, and I know on paper you probably use for my team, but in terms of putting things up, and if it's a big game, I want Hannah Hidalgo on my team. All right, yeah, that that's the way it is. All right, so Morrow over Strong. I'll give you that one. But yeah, Hannah Hidalgo's on my first team. It's close. Don't really care about college awards. Yeah, either do I. Yeah, a totally different thing. But for juniors, we had like team MVPs and stuff, which I hate. I mean, it's much like there was a player for Brazil, Oscar. I can't. Was it Oscar something? Um, just an amazing forward. How can you? The guy was like, no, no. He's like, So we carry the people great for postseason awards. So is a terror on defense. I don't agree. Does too much. I'll come back where he does them in trouble in game. If it's a big game versus UConn, USC play game, yeah. So yeah, hear me now or not really? All right, yeah. Anyway, with you 8 people and argue about these rewards. Whatever you have tomorrow. All right. Enjoyed it. Y'all have a great night. How do I turn this off? That's it. Oh, in stream.